Hey guys, Godfather of Anxiety here again. I just wanted to do a short video on some common misconceptions about panic attacks. Um, for those of you who follow the channel, you know that my problems that I've had over the years with anxiety disorder, obsessive compulsive disorder, clinical depression, that the journey started with panic attacks. And I feel like there are a lot of misconceptions out there that are believed not just by people who, know people who have panic attacks and, by neurotypical people, but even by people who experience panic attacks. And I think that just addressing a few of these, this isn't going to be a long video, but just addressing a few of these, I think can be helpful if you're experiencing panic attacks, or you know somebody who is. Because the knowing how to deal with it is really important with panic attacks. And because it's a misfunctioning body, reaction, you're experiencing the fight or flight response. If you don't know how to deal with it, it can get really intense, because all your body's trying to do is keep you alive. That's all it's trying to do. So just a couple things I've learned. The first huge misconception, and this is important to know, panic attacks do not need to be preceded by anticipatory thinking or stress. They absolutely do not need to be. Now, sometimes they are. Sometimes that might be that you haven't slept. Sometimes it might be that there's a lot of stress going on in your life. Sometimes it might be that you're really nervous about one specific thing and you can't stop thinking about it. And you work yourself up into a panic attack. But so much of the time, guys, I have been caught completely off guard by panic attacks. I've been doing something I enjoy. I've had a relatively low stress level. And all of the sudden, with ferocity, you get that intense feeling of impending doom. And, and just to highlight this so that you guys know this is true, I mean, I can think of so many I've had when I was doing things I enjoyed. It wasn't like in the back of my mind I was worried about something. And then I'd get a panic attack. It's happened to me in the grocery store. I mean, seriously, I mean, with the way the prices are now, maybe you could have a panic attack. But back when I was having panic attacks in grocery stores, what was the reason for that, right? And then the real cherry on top, as far as knowing that you don't need to have anticipatory thinking to have a panic attack. Guys, I've had a panic attack when I was in a dead sleep. And it was the most frightening thing maybe I've ever dealt with. It's up there. I made a video about it. I wouldn't wish it on, the devil himself. It was awful. Because all of the things that I had learned to do to cope with a panic attack were useless when you're getting awoken from a dead sleep. So all that disconnecting from your environment, all of that impending doom, your dying feeling out of a dead sleep is, hopefully you guys never go through that. But anyways, what that does prove conclusively is that anticipatory thinking is not necessary to have panic attacks. So that's the first misconception I wanted to address. Another one is that panic attacks are a sign of weakness or an inability to cope. That is an absolute lie. It is a physiological response to fight or flight, and it's a very intense one. And it is depending on, I feel like in my family, again, I have never had a study done. I've never had tests done, but I feel like we have, not just hyperactive amygdalas. So our stress response is more sensitive, but I also feel like we have overdeveloped adrenal glands or adrenal response. Because if I look at the feats of strength of people in my family, especially when in an emergency situation, it seems as though, there must be an aggressive adrenal response. So when you're feeling that way, though, guys, and there is nothing to lift, there is nothing to run from, there is nothing to kill, there's nothing to fight. That is why you have that feeling of, all loss of control. For me, a lot of it was fading away, like I was fading away, and that feeling like not that you're gonna die, but that you're dying right then. So I promise you, you think of the strongest person you know. You think of a military general, you think of a sports hero, you somebody who survived a terrible experience, a concentration camp. If they have a panic attack, they're not going to blow it off. They're not going to go, I'm just going to change my breathing. And because first of all, when you first start having them, you have no idea what it is. And again, they occur out of the blue. So you're not just going to be able to dismiss it. So it's not a sign of weakness. In fact, and I've said this in my videos before, the bravest I've ever been in my life by a wide margin is when I was having panic attacks, but still going to work, but still going with my wife and family to events where I was the entire time. I mean, I guess if you guys can just think of that 3 o'clock in the morning phone call that you get, that feeling in your chest, having that all the time, and knowing that a panic attack is almost a certainty to happen, but still going and pushing through. I did that for 6 years. Now, I wasn't successful. I held on to employment, but probably barely. I kept my marriage and my family together, but there's some dents and dings. So, you definitely want to get treatment if you're having panic attacks, but it's not a sign of weakness. And it's a physiological response. Some people aren't going to have the same response to things. 70% of people, the people who are empathetic, who care about others, are 70% more likely to have panic attacks than people who are not empathetic. So, I always tell you guys, caring is part of this equation, but you need to learn to modulate your stress, your emotions. Anyways, getting back to the misconceptions about panic attacks. So there's not always anticipatory thinking. They're not a sign of weakness. Also, if you're having panic attacks, another big misconception is you can just snap out of it. Guys, joke. That's a joke. You can learn techniques to help mitigate panic attacks, but you cannot just snap out of them. Again, this is your body's physiological response. So I'm going to just finish this video off by telling you guys what to do. I'm going to keep it to 3 misconceptions. There's many. A lot of them, have to do with perception of panic attacks by neurotypical people, but I don't want to make a long video here. But here's what you do if you're having a panic attack. First thing you do is once you've had one, you'll know, label it as a panic attack. You're not dying, even though it feels like you're dying. You're not fading away. You're not losing all control. You're not going to commit a crime. So label it as a panic attack. And then this is so important and can get misconstrued, obviously, but let it happen. Don't fight it. Guys, I fought the first probably 100 panic attacks I had. All it does is intensify them and make them worse. Don't do it. Let it happen. Label it as a panic attack. Let it happen. Now, as you're coming out of your panic attack, you want to focus on belly breathing. Breathe through your diaphragm. There's countless videos on YouTube, and you can read on Google how to do this. Practice this even when you're not having panic attacks, because it'll come in handy. Sometimes you can even prevent a panic attack by doing this. And other times you can at least make one maybe last a little less, shorter period of time. But belly breathe. Learn how to belly breathe. And after that, that's what you do when you're having a panic attack. And the other thing you want to do is, because you've labeled it and you know what it is and you let it happen, you're not going to perseverate on it afterwards. Leave it as a panic attack. It's a panic attack. It's a physiological. If you bumped your head on a doorway, you wouldn't be spending the rest of the night thinking, I bumped my head on a doorway. I bumped my head on a doorway. So, because you know what happened, And if you know that it's a panic attack, you don't need to obsess about it afterwards. So leave it in the past. Now, get treatment. That's a huge part of this. Talk to a mental health professional. You'll want to do that. Sometimes medication can help. Try to manage the stress in your life that you can control. Get a good night's sleep. Get exercise. And make sure you're in control of your diet and your diet's not in control of you. If you do those things, you can get through panic attacks. Guys, there was a time in my life when I would have a panic attack at least every week, if not every day. And I promise you, it's terrifying. I know it's not weakness. But there's a light at the end of the tunnel. You can get through it. And the less you react to them, the less power they'll have and the less frequency that you'll have them. You'll have them with way less frequency if you don't react. So that's all I wanted to say. I've done lots of videos on panic attacks, but just thinking about it, there's so many misconceptions. People, even the media sometimes portrays it as weakness, somebody who can't hang, can't deal. Just not true. Just not true at all. So it is somebody who cares. So if they wanted to show that as this is somebody who cares a lot, that would be a more accurate depiction. But guys, thanks so much for the engagement with the channel. I'm over 600 subscribers now. I hope you find the videos helpful. If you do, let someone know. Let someone know who maybe is experiencing anxiety or depression, a family member or a friend. Anyways, thanks so much for watching, and until my next video, take care.